Okay, well, it's just gone 6 a.m. and we're getting ready to untie the lines. It's a beautiful morning, weather looks good out in the strait, pretty calm, and this is it, we're gonna get underway. Okay. Yeah. All right, finally, after a long morning of motoring into a pretty big swell coming out of the Strait of Fuca, finally we've got a breeze. And it's time to turn off the engine, the best part of the day. There we go. We were forecast to get some strong winds during the night, so as the sun set we tucked in the third reef, which means we basically reduced the size of the mainsail by a large amount, making it much more manageable in strong winds. Reefing deep and early like this reduces your speed, but I particularly wanted this first night to be restful for everybody. The strong forecasted winds never really arrived, but we still made a respectable 6 to 7 knots through the night, and a deep reefed main, along with the moonlight, made for a very peaceful, calm night. There's really nothing like being on night watch alone, or your crewmates are down below sleeping, you're keeping an eye out for other boats and changes in the weather, but it can be a very reflective, beautiful time. That is, if the weather's good. Even in calm weather though, it can get very cold, and it's usually a relief when the next watch comes up and you can crawl down below and curl up in your bunk. In the morning, the wind eased, and Bob and I shook out the reef, hoisting the full main again. Reefing a big gaff mainsail like this is quite a lot of work, and so is hoisting and dowsing and then folding our topsails. So a big part of sailing a boat like this is deciding when it's worth doing that work. Especially when you have a small crew on a long passage, you have to consider everybody's energy levels, and it's not sustainable to be making sail changes every time there's a slight change in the wind. The priority is always to arrive safely and in good health, and so sometimes that might mean sailing under canvas and going slower, or even motoring more than you might do in a more modern boat where it's much quicker and easier to change sails. I do try to remember though that we're still getting to know this boat, and as we get more experience with her, we're always finding ways to make it easier to sail shore-handed. Of course, in a racing situation, you typically have a lot more crew on board, and that would let you change sails a lot more frequently to take advantage of every change in the wind. Of course, on a trip like this, it's really nice to have up-to-date weather forecasts, and thanks to the satellite internet dish I installed, we were able to get these regularly. Here I'm displaying the weather forecast on the Time Zero program, which is what I use for navigation and chart plotting. It runs on a regular Windows computer and a standard monitor, and as you can see here, I'm able to see what the weather will be like at different positions at different times based on potential routes, which is really helpful for on-the-fly passage planning. There's a lot of other great features, and Time Zero have actually supported this project by supplying me with the software, and I've been really enjoying using it since we launched the boat.
If like the length of the shackles you're making isn't critical, yes, that's fine.
What's it for, Bob?
It's called a soft shackle, and it's just for attaching things really strong.
Over the first couple of days of passage, we found that one of our reefing lines had chafed through. I realised that we need to use a different kind of line for this and add some chafe protection, but for now we're just replacing it. This is one of the lines that holds down the bottom aft corner of the sail when you're reefing or reducing the sail's area. We call it the reef clewlin or clew line because that bottom aft corner of the sail is called the clew.
The other end is tied off over here. So this is the
So when I went up the mast to have a look for chafe, I found that the gaff saddle has actually been wearing on the mast. Now, we had that problem with the original gaff saddle where it was jumping off and damaging it quite badly. This is not as severe, but there's still a lot of twisting movement, twisting force on the gaff saddle for some reason, and it is wearing and chafing on the varnish and the finish of the soft spruce wood on the mast. So we've got to do something about that. In the short term, we've tried a few different configurations of sailing, trying to ease it up, but we're finding it is still chafing. So we've just turned the engine on and we're just motoring downwind, so that we're sort of reducing our apparent wind. We're going to try and drop the mainsail like this downwind and probably just sail under head sails for a while. It's pretty much just downwind conditions from here into San Francisco, so we should be able to do that, and maybe we'll hoist the main just at the end to come in. Yeah, the leather doesn't look like it suffered that much.
Leather stronger than spruce?
Should have built this mast out of leather. Alright, well we might be in for a rolly ride now, but... So we should hoist another headsail.
I believe I'm off watch now.
Well, me too.
Oh.
Go to bed, guys. Me and Bob will do it.
Yeah?
Hell yeah.
That would be great.
Some rest.
That would be great.
Beautiful evening, isn't it?
beautiful here. So different than Canada.
So after Tally-Ho's longest offshore passage for several decades, we found ourselves close to our destination, anchored in Drake's Bay, just 25 miles northwest of the Golden Gate Bridge and the entrance to San Francisco Bay. It had been a really good passage. We'd travelled almost exactly 800 nautical miles in a little bit over 5 days, so we'd made very good time, though we did run our engine for almost 2 days to get through light winds and get ahead of an unfavourable weather system. The crew had been wonderful, but we were all pretty tired after having such disrupted sleep cycles, which is why we decided to stop at anchor here in Drake's Bay and get a proper night's sleep before heading in through the Golden Gate Bridge, where there'd be a lot of traffic, a lot of spectators, and a lot more wind. I didn't want to over-dramatize it beforehand, but this passage down the Washington and Oregon coastline is actually a really notorious one. The area is famous for strong winds and big waves, and a lot of boats get battered coming down the coast. I'm really happy about the decision to stay offshore and get the whole passage over and done with in one go, and generally we're really lucky with the conditions we had. The only really bad thing on this passage was the chafe damage on the mast, and in the next video after we sail under the Golden Gate Bridge, we're going to have to try and fix that and find a solution to prevent it from happening again. For now though, thanks a lot for watching, and a massive thank you to everyone who has donated or otherwise supported this project and this channel. It does make a huge difference. It means we can keep on sailing and maintaining this boat, and it means we're able to keep on making and editing these videos. So I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Cheers.